Hello, Toy Collector fans, Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of my childhood toy memories. Righty ho then, so here we are once again for another episode of my childhood toy memories, and I'm hoping you lot are ready to rock and roll, Daddy, because my next guest is just trying to be the best guest he can possibly be. But to me, he's arguably the greatest guest ever made. It's Bob Hansen. Hello, Bob. How are you?
Gadzooks, G. Willikers, sweet mother of pearl, every which way from Sunday. Stu, Universal Toy Collector, collecting toys all throughout the universe. We got the power, we're transforming, rolling out. We have the force, we're knowing half the battle. We're Thundercats hoeing, we're left and right, all over the place. Painted town red till the cows come home. Frozen pigs flying in hell. We never stop rocking, Daddy. How are you, buddy?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Now, I did have that written down as my intro, but I couldn't remember it. The memory's not quite what it used to be, Bob. But anyway, how are you? You all right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all right now. Last week I was in rough shape. I was at a restaurant. The waiter gave me the wrong bill. I said to the guy next to me, "Hey, buddy, I got your check." He said, "Thanks." All right, no respect, no respect. I tell you, no respect. That's a little Rodney Dangerfield for you.
Oh dear.
I can't complain, buddy. Doing things, saying stuff, walking mutts and scratching butts. That's what I'm doing. But the neighbors are sick of that, so eventually I'll get around to doing that for the dogs.
Well, I've got to say, it's always a pleasure to have you on the channel. Thank you so much for doing this. So, um, you've sent me 5 photographs of toys that hold a
Sweet.
specific memory for you. So, shall we get into it?
I don't see why not. Let's just jump
Okay,
both feet right in the pool there,
let's
Daddy.
do this. Okay, so here is picture number one. If you'd like to tell me your memories of this toy.
Yes, so that is a Godzilla action figure. He's a
Yeah.
popular sci-fi monster or originated in Japan. You probably know that already. I'm wasting everyone's time. Um, I love this toy. So this is I have very few childhood toys,
Yeah.
literally, but this is one I always kept. So this I got, I want to 1985. So I would have
Wow.
been maybe 25, 30 years old. I'm just kidding. No, I would have been 5 years old. Um, I think my grandmother took me to see in the States, it was called Godzilla 85 based on the
Right.
year. But I think it was Godzilla 84, Godzilla Returns in Japan. So it came out the year before, but it was a terrifying movie. If you're five, a lot of explosions, a lot of fire. But this toy. So my dad rarely ever went to like a Toys R Us or a toy store or what have you. That was just not usually his job. But for whatever reason,
Yeah.
and I don't know why, shortly after this movie, he was just out with us, and we were out of Toys R Us late at night, which is really really odd. I don't really know the occasion. Maybe it was my brother's birthday or something. It doesn't really stand out. But anyway, but he got me this probably as like a shut up kid here thing. But I was always very well behaved and didn't really want to get my dad too upset. But nevertheless, I think he saw me looking at it, and it probably wasn't that expensive in hindsight. But so he picked that up for me, and since that was such a rare occasion, I just thought that Godzilla, it's so cool, and it still holds up. See, if a matter of fact, it's literally the same guy here. It's the same. I mean, it's got 5 points of. Oh, there you go. It's got the tail. It's got the
Yeah.
two arms, the two legs. So there's your 5 points. But for 1985, and it's got a little missing chunk of his nose where my dachshund Heidi bit it off. But all things considered, that's a pretty good Godzilla for 1985, and the thing holds up. It's got a rubbery plastic. You can pour water in his mouth, and it comes right out, and nothing
Wow.
rusts. This is a great Godzilla toy, and he
So that's the
displayed
actual
well.
one from that's the actual one from your childhood.
Yes, same guy. He
Oh
came
wow.
everywhere with me. Yeah, I have very few of those, so that's why this guy had to be in there. And one great thing about any Godzilla toy is that they're basically tripods because of so they don't really fall over on a shelf. They always
Yeah.
stand really
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
that's a great thing about, and
Some
that's
some
just my
some people say I'm the same. I
you
don't
know.
fall over, but
I'm in
we'll move
Southern
swiftly on.
California. There's earthquakes here. So
Yeah,
so so for a toy
yeah,
collector in an earthquake-ridden world,
yeah. I
that
agree.
can be a bad day at the office there, Daddy.
So when you got this then, what was your memories of getting that? I mean, was it something that I mean, obviously you'd seen the film, you'd
Yes.
seen the toy. Was you wanting was it something that you wanted? I mean, did you like the film to start with?
I think I liked how scared of it I was. I think, and I don't
Right.
say this about many movies. You've probably never heard me say this before, but that movie, arguably the greatest film ever made. You could,
Well, yeah.
yeah, arguably, you can make an argument. I don't know what the
Arguably,
argument would
yeah, yeah. I
be.
mean, it's the first time I've ever heard you say that, so
Thank you.
you're
And
welcome.
the not the English version with Raymond Burr and the Dr. Pepper machine, which is a shame, but
Yeah,
the Japanese version is currently on HBO Max. If you really want to see Godzilla Returns, there it is. But it's pretty much the same idea. But I do remember this is one of those toys, especially when you're 5, because I also later I got a rubbery King Kong, which I gifted to my nephew, so I don't have him anymore.
yeah,
Or maybe it was just a big monkey that I called King Kong. I don't even really know. But it was one of those things you're in the back of the car, and maybe the car ride is long, and you got Godzilla one hand, Kong on the other, fight, fight, fight,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
pass the time, and you wake up and you're home.
Wow. I mean,
It's a little guy.
what was the rating of the film? I don't suppose you remember, but I mean, it seems a bit strange to because you said you were quite frightened of it for the age you were, about 5 years old. So was it? It
Sure.
wouldn't have been a PG or well, it must have
You
been.
know, it might have just been a PG-13. I doubt
Yeah.
it was an
Right.
R. I don't
Okay.
think there were a lot of obscenities
Yeah.
or random exposed bosoms or buttocks flying around in a particular Godzilla film.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think there were ample buttocks and heaving bosoms flying to and fro in your kaiju monster movie. I don't recall. Goji, will
Yeah.
eventually, if you watch this, let me know. He would know better than I would. Our friend
He
Goji
probably
Tron, if
would. He probably would. Yeah.
yes, he would know if there were exposed ample heaving bosoms and shapely buttocks in Godzilla Returns. There's definitely not. I just want to annoy him and force him to comment on that because I think that's funny. But be that as it may, no, I just remember
Yeah.
it's scary. It's a monster, and now you watch it, and it's more obvious what's a special effect and whatnot. Just a side note, I love when people show a clip of an old movie from like whether it's 40 years ago, like that movie, or an 80-year-old movie, and they show a special effect and go, "No CGI." Oh, you don't say. You don't say they weren't using CGI in 1933's King Kong. I'll be
Oh
damned,
dear.
son of a
Yeah.
gun.
I mean, that surprises me. So it did with this figure then. I mean, are you a big fan of Godzilla now anyway, or is this the only
Yeah.
Godzilla figure that you have?
Oh, I got a bunch. I got a bunch of
Yeah. Yeah.
Godzillas. Uh,
Yeah.
I became a bigger fan gradually in the '90s as a teen. My friend Luke has a good God. He's in South Carolina. He's got a great Earth Destruction Directive podcast. He has a Godzilla podcast with his brother and his
Okay.
dad, which is really cool. But so I gave him a cheap plug out there for anyone. But no, he got me into some of those early '90s Godzilla movies that you
Yeah.
really just saw in Japan, but they kind of took it a little more seriously. There was Biollante in '89 and Mecha Godzilla, or rather the Ghidorah one in '91 ish, I think. And I think whatever, but all those things, especially the one in '95 where they killed him and then start again, which is the God. But I always get a kick out of any new Godzilla that's coming out. I do love the Godzilla versus Kong from 2021 and the new Empire one from a year ago or a year and a half ago, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love those. I don't care. And I loved Godzilla minus one from 2023. There is a sequel coming out. There's so many different ways to tell that story. There's so many
Yeah.
serious and campy and ridiculous ways to tell the same story of this radioactive dinosaur destroying Tokyo. Does he have an enemy? Does he not have an enemy? If he does have an enemy, then he's almost always the good guy. But if he's by
Yeah.
himself, then he's kind of the bad guy, but it's not always his fault. And the Japanese military, bless their pea picking hearts, they don't always fare so well with their various vehicles and missiles, as they say across the pond
Yeah.
to fight off the threat of this particular Godzilla. I love the idea of of a creature being the only one of his species. I think that's what appeals to me
Yeah.
the biggest. It's like it's just him. There's no Godzillas. There's no, that they're willing to show us. There's no, hive or nest or den of Godzillas.
Well,
He's
there was in the
Okay.
was it the was it is it Matthew Broderick version
I
of
knew you were
Godzilla?
gonna say that. Oh, I
You
knew you were
knew I was
gonna
gonna
say
say that. You know I was gonna say that. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
the
that one
eggs and the
obviously that
MSG.
version didn't float your boat then.
No, Godzilla fans don't usually. That's one of those
Recognize
sweep it under the rug. That's the one weird, strange relative that went to jail, and we just don't talk about.
that. Yeah. Oh, funny enough, you saying that about Godzilla fans thinking that. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Star Wars fans that think that about certain Star Wars movies as well. So,
I'm sure there's lots
it's
of
nice.
Star Wars
It's
fans.
nice to know it's not just Star Wars fans that think these things about different franchises and stuff like
Oh
that.
no,
So, but I mean, because Godzilla, he's always had a certain kind of look about him, hasn't he? Where like the look that you've got in this figure here, the quite big hips and thighs and legs and stuff like that, and it's sort
yeah,
of like the same looking head. But that one that you don't want to mention, he was totally a totally different design, wasn't he? Totally
yeah. That
different look.
was one of those. I guess the easiest way to summarize it. That was one of those things where they just made some kind of generic monster movie and pretty much slap the Godzilla label on it. You know how
Yeah,
you'll see those toys that made us. I'm trying to speak to our audience here. Those toys that made us documentaries on Netflix. It's a popular platform or streaming service. I don't have time to explain it, but they always mention the label slapping, like, oh, here's another Big Wheels car, and we'll put a GI Joe sticker on it and say it's a GI
yeah,
Joe toy, and it really isn't. That's what they kind of did that with the '98 Godzilla film. I
that's
guess
right.
is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
best way. Here's some monster, and well, Godzilla's a name. We'll call it Godzilla, and then I think Toho made Godzilla 2000 or Godzilla '99, but we called it 2000, like a year after, and
yeah,
made another version. And there's even a one of those early 2000 ones. They have the monster that they just call Zilla, which is the Matthew Broderick one, and they have him get pretty much killed in a second by their real Godzilla. So it's stuck in their craw, the Toho folks, I
wow,
believe.
wow. Wow, it's interesting because I've never been a real big fan of Godzilla. So I mean, obviously I've watched the films and stuff like that. I mean, I did enjoy Godzilla -1. I thought that was very well done. That was
That's
quite good.
such a good movie.
But when you come to things like Godzilla and Kong and stuff like that, I'm like, I don't know. It
Is
just
it because
does.
they're
It's
just
just
too
something that
big?
I don't know. It's just
I have to
not
be in
my
the right
thing.
mood because sometimes it's like because the monster is too big, it seems so indestructible that I just kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
I have to be in the right mood for the right Godzilla movie.
yeah,
Like Godzilla -1 is pretty heavy, so you got to be in the right mood for that. Whereas Godzilla, Kong, New Empire, they team up to fight all sorts of weird frozen lizards and other apes and this. You
yeah.
kind of yeah, all right. I can, I don't need to be wearing pants for this film, do I? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, that's photo number one. So let's move on to toy number
Okie
two.
dokie.
Now, I'm assuming that this is Starscream, I believe.
Yes, he's a popular Transformers character,
Yeah, very popular. I
the
mean, I like
villain.
him a lot. So, what's the story behind Starscream?
Okie dokie. First of all, that's my empty freezer that he's in. He was only in there for a second. Don't worry, I'm not freezing my toys. I just needed a background. I just wanted to give you a background instead of just toy on a shelf. Um, so that's settled. So this is an odd one because this is not definitely not a childhood toy. This is a 2002 Toys R Us reissue that I got in
Okay.
2003.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't realize someday that they were going to be making modern versions of your Siege, Kingdom, Legacy, Earthrise, Studios series, equal housing lender, items shifted in the overhead bin during the flight, whatever they're called, Transformers that we have today. Thank you, Hasbro. But be that as it may, I got a bunch of these guys in the spring and summer of '03.
Right.
It was a year after college. I was kind of broke. I had to go back and live with my mom and new stepdad for a bit, and that sucked ass. But um, but I got a bunch of these guys. So I got Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp. Of course, they're all repaints by design. I got them at my local
Yeah.
Toys R Us. And I also got Jazz and
Oh,
Rodimus Prime, which was really so I
wow.
had the
Okay.
five of these guys, and I have a childhood sludge, which I didn't include. So I had these six guys on a shelf, and I loved them, and that was great. But unfortunately, fast forward 2 years, I'm in San Diego, whatever job I lost or I quit. I don't remember what I was doing, but either way, yeah, I became a personal trainer and I was really bad at it at a YMCA. So I was losing money left and right, and I had to sell like pretty much all my cool toys for groceries. And this guy is the one I refuse to sell. I got rid of
Okay.
Skywarp, Thundercracker, Jazz, Rodimus. I kept the Childhood Sludge too. I wasn't getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Um, but I kept this Starscream. I'm like, he's my favorite guy. I'm not selling him. Even though at one point I think I had like 50 cents in the bank account. I'm like, I'm not selling this guy. And I kept him. And I'm glad I did because it's always I'm just glad he stood the test of time. He's a figure that I had with me, similar to this Godzilla, of just I had him with me from New York to San Diego to New
Yeah.
York to San Diego again. It's one of my few toys that has followed me everywhere. And I think there's one more example of those later on. We got is another example of those, at least one.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, I love that character. I love the idea of not all the bad guys are on the same. Not all the bad guys have the same agenda just because they're
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
So we have this guy who always wanted. He was always number two. He was very talented, and that's why Megatron kept him around. But at the same time, this guy was so ambitious, wanted to be number one, never could really achieve it. And as we know, and I don't want to give away this 39-year-old movie, but you might be familiar with Transformers the movie,
Yeah.
arguably, and I don't throw this around lightly, arguably the greatest film ever made.
Yeah, do you know what? I've got to say that's the
Yeah,
first time I've ever heard you say that, Bob.
it
It's
probably, yeah, it is. It
yeah,
is. Let's not
yeah,
rewind this ever.
yeah,
And when Starscream finally does get his moment, it is a
yeah.
short one because he was very briefly a leader of the Decepticons. He very briefly got what he
But
wanted.
that's the thing about that movie, isn't it? Because I think, and I think a lot of people would agree with me when that movie came out, the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so, they pretty much wiped out all of the G1 Transformers.
Oh
Optimus,
yeah.
all the Autobots, Starscream, Megatron turned into Galvatron and stuff like that, and it was just like, what is going on? So, I mean, did you have this figure as a kid, Starscream, the
Nope.
original G1?
No,
No.
the Transformers I had were I had a very unbalanced group. I was very lucky. I had Dinobot Sludge. I
Yeah.
had Ultra Magnus and Power Master Optimus Prime. So you can tell like I was coming in like a little bit halfway. But so on one side you have Ultra Magnus and Power Master Optimus Prime and a Dinobot, and on the other side I had the Sharktacon, who they named the Gnaw
Yeah.
on the package. I had the Sharktacon and this other weird little like 1988 guy. I guess he was a Firecon or a Sparktacon. You wheeled him back on the carpet and sparks flew out of
Oh
this
god, yeah,
toy.
no, yeah, yeah. I
Because it
remember
was the
those. Yeah.
80s and they didn't see what could possibly go wrong with fiery sparks flying out of a toy. But be that as it may, so I had one Sharktacon and one Sparky guy versus these, and they never did well. So,
Yeah.
but I love those Transformers. But as we all know, compared to GI Joe neck and neck, Transformers were usually pricier
Yeah.
birthday, Christmas types of things, and you got them few
Yeah.
and far between.
Mm.
But I was well past the mark of ever even seeing a G1 Optimus or Megatron or a Starscream or a Soundwave or what
Yeah.
have you. I can't believe I got a Dinobot. He might have been my first one, if I think about it.
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
an '85 guy, so
Yeah.
I just like to have this guy around. And I learned with a lot of these early '84 and '85 Transformers that because they have different cockpits, because I guess I don't know if this was a Diaclone guy or the Takara or the other. I don't remember. I get all confused with that stuff. A Transformers guy could tell you, but there's spaces to hide things. And
Okay.
if you're in college and there's a variety of substances you don't want people to find, you can hide them in the chest cavity of Dinobot sludge, and
Wow.
no one can tell where
No.
your paraphernalia may or may not be. And I'll leave it
Wow.
there.
No, that's
Yeah,
that's
so that's been
interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. Good to know. Good to know. But
Mm.
how do these hold up then? Because are these straight re um molds of the or the same mold as the original G1 Transformers back in the
I
80s, or are
always
these?
thought they were really, like, freakishly close. Someone will
Yeah.
tell you, I'm sure, that I think when they reissued Prime, the smokestacks on his shoulders aren't they're either too high or too low, or
Oh, okay.
they changed the color of his eyes back and forth, or I don't know all that. I think the Starscream guys, or the Seekers rather, I think they
Yeah.
were pretty much the same. I think someone said once maybe the missiles, and those missiles fire, those you see on his shoulders, he's got those
All
blue
right. Yeah.
plates.
Yeah.
I think someone told me once the missiles were a slightly different size in
Okay.
'84 versus 2002. I couldn't actually tell you, but here's if you just want to feel the old weirdness of it. It's been way more time between 2002 and now than it was between 84 and 2002.
Wow.
So
That's
so that
ridiculous,
so
isn't it? Yeah.
basically, yeah, so that toy to me is actually older now than it would have been when I was 23 getting these old toys again.
Yeah.
If that makes any
But
sense if you just want to feel closer to the Grim Reaper at this moment.
that's certainly cheering us up here. Thank you very much,
I
man. Yeah,
help
yeah.
people.
I mean,
I help
crikey,
people. I'm a
well,
helper.
yeah, yeah. With with this design, are you happy with this design? As in, like, or would you do you like the later versions of Starscream and stuff like
I
that, the more modern day versions?
I think the only thing that kills this design for me is, well, A, I really have only 2, I guess 3 G1 guys. I have an Optimus Prime knockoff,
Yeah,
but my G1 guy, I guess those 3 G1 guys, this guy, the knockoff Prime and Sludge they're nowhere near each other in different rooms. So I guess maybe that doesn't help. But um but I always thought the G1 Transformers, God love them, they never scaled well. I think it was just an idea a little bit ahead of its time. And this particular guy, both vintage and reissued,
yeah,
and it's been reissued a few more times, I'm sure, and yada yada yada. I know, but he's clearly he's the parts former.
yeah.
He's like the wings on his feet, the other you can't really see him. Those blue things on his calves, the missiles, the 2 hands, the big wings, and then the landing gear coming out of the cockpit there. All that just falls off.
Oh
So
wow.
you transform very little on this guy. Almost
Yeah,
really hit the head and cone and you flip that around a lot and
yeah.
flip his feet over real quick. And there's not really much
That sounds
transforming
really
going on.
complicated. That sounds
It
really
can be a
complicated.
pain too, and then you drop the
I know
tools.
someone who would really struggle with transforming a transformer. I don't know. I don't know if you know him, but Shabby Geek.
Yeah,
He's
I got a chance
he's
to finally meet him at Joe Fest. He was great.
oh yeah, we oh cool, cool, cool. Did you show him how to transform a transformer? Because he's hopeless apparently.
I did not. I
No.
don't think we had that conversation, but
Bless. But so when you bought this, then what was the feeling when you bought this? When you actually saw him in the shop? I mean, did it bring back memories of like the 80s and stuff like that? And
actually no, because I was into
oh,
rewatching the Transformers movie at the time in the early
yeah,
2000s. So
right,
in a weird way, I was just kind of buying the figure for the guy I thought was cool at the moment. So,
yeah.
and I just thought he would look cool on a shelf, and I didn't have anything else on shelves. I didn't have a whole bunch of toys. So I thought this guy looks cool, and he's fun, and he makes me happy. And
That's what it's all about, Bob, isn't it? That's what
yeah,
it's all about. If but
he
yeah,
gives
no,
me a
that's
giggle.
awesome, awesome. Right, so that is number two. Let's go to number three. This
Okie
guy needs
dokie.
no
I like the
introduction, does he?
surprise.
There you go. So, what is the story about this guy?
You realize you can't show Randy Savage to anyone ever without doing the voice. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, freak out, freak out. Maybe I am insane. All right. Maybe I am insane. Yeah, check the Snake Roberts Saturday night's main event. You're going to find out. All right. Just how insane I am. Freak out, thinking, thinking. Ooh, yeah. All right. We'll leave it there. This is
Uh,
terrific. This is also one of the very few, and this is a childhood Randy Savage
yep,
who
yep.
has followed me again from New York to San Diego to New York to San Diego. This guy is since I was
Wow.
10.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So yeah, he has followed me everywhere. I had 20 other of these guys and I sold them all on eBay at some point. But when I went to New York and I had no space, but I kept him, like no one's taking my, similar to the Starscream story. I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah.
keeping this one guy. He stays with me.
Yeah.
Um, this is a 1990, the first wave of the Hasbro WWF guys.
Wow.
Um, well, interesting. Well, I guess what it means to me is I would have been 10 when I got them. And that's that weird age where, like, okay, half your friends are still playing with toys, half aren't. But this line came out, and I was a wrestling nut. And this is all I cared about was wrestling and these wrestling figures. Although these are just the
Yeah.
coolest guys ever. Um, this one was a group of it was a handful of toys. This was the first year and the last year that I guess as being a nosy and a very impatient kid, especially at 10, where I had discovered him in a stash before Christmas time, what I
Oh,
really was
okay.
not supposed to. And I remember the shock and seeing him and knowing it was obviously for me, and knowing that, okay, for the first time in your life, you don't look again. You've seen him, you know it's coming. And I guess wait a week or two before Christmas, and you
Yeah.
better act surprised. And I told myself even then, I'm like, just act surprised and just try to put it out of your brain so you can be as surprised as you possibly can. And I think it worked. I like to think so. Um, but Randy Savage was one of the first bad guys I thought was cool. Like around 91, I'd been an Ultimate Warrior guy, and then in 91, I
Yeah.
realized how cool Randy Savage actually had been. He was the Macho King at the time in 90 and 91, 89 through mid 91. So before I'm just being so specific, as someone in the comments will always correct you, and I'm like, yes, I
No,
know.
well, no, that's fine. If it, you just, that's all good, man. It's
It
all
was
good.
September '89 through March of '91 that he was the Macho King. If before anyone wants to jump on and tell me exactly when, I get it. I'm very well aware. And that's my favorite Randy Savage, where he wore a
Yeah.
crown for a year and a half, and he had sensational Queen Sherry with him. But it always appealed to me that on paper, Randy Savage is a guy who makes no sense, but he is the guy I would show to explain to someone what a professional wrestler is. So if you wrote down on paper he's got this voice, but he had this crazy hair and these big robes, which you can't see here, and all this other stuff, and he spun around and he had Miss Elizabeth, and sometimes he was nice to her, sometimes he wasn't, and it was really weird, and he's kind of paranoid, but he comes out to Pomp and Circumstance, the graduation song. That doesn't make it, none of that makes any sense. But
Yeah.
for some reason, when he does it, it all comes together, and it's this widely memorable character. He wasn't even doing Slim Jim commercials yet. That was a mid '90s thing where everyone was going, oh, yeah, need a little chips, yeah, need a little beef, need a little spice, looking for a little excitement. Step into a Slim Jim, ooh, yeah, yeah. That hadn't happened yet. We were a few years away from that. He was just
Yeah.
the coolest wrestler. And that belt, and someone's gonna add, is that is the very faded, now all black title belt that came with the Hasbro ring. So he did not come with
Right.
that belt. That belt came with the ring, and I just left it on him because he's my champion.
I mean, the thing is, a lot of people I've spoken to were heavily into wrestling, and they were saying about the early day wrestling figures. But I don't ever remember seeing any wrestling figures in any of the stores in the UK. It's mad. It's mad. I don't know whether it's because I wasn't purposely looking out for them that I didn't notice them. They didn't catch my eye. I don't know. They must have been there because loads of people have said that they saw them and they bought them.
Hmm.
It just wasn't a thing that I was into wrestling. I mean, I've got a friend of mine. He's doing a WWE Wednesday night where he opens up a new deluxe 6-inch wrestling figure. And listen, I know nothing about wrestling, but I got to say the figures do look pretty cool. Seeing this figure now, I mean, I know it holds a lot of memories for you and stuff like that, but does that tempt you into getting some of the more up to date modern day figures with the better articulation? Or are you just quite happy with this one here?
No, I'm out of the wrestling. Well, not completely out of the wrestling figure. I will get some of the wrestlers that are Walmart exclusives here in the US, where
Right.
they have that Motu Origins buck, really.
Oh yeah.
Because
Okay, I think I know
so
the
I've
ones you
gone
mean. Yeah.
ahead and I probably have like a dozen of those, just because I've been using them when I make my videos.
Yeah.
I've been using them to fight with my Motu guys in my own videos and stuff like that, which is really the only reason I have them. Otherwise, I wouldn't. Because now we're talking like your regular wrestling figure now is a 7-inch scale, and it's a whole other thing that I'm just not getting into. They have plenty of cool guys, but if I collected no other toys, I'm sure I would have all those guys. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just I'm just happy with my one Hasbro Randy Savage there, and I have another Randy Savage in that Motu style, and he's wearing a black and white outfit, and that's enough,
Yeah.
and I'm good. I'm just good. It needs to
Yeah. No. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
wrestling. It's bad enough with GI Joe and Transformers and He Man, because you have a team at some point, a creative team sits around and can create an infinity number of characters.
Yeah.
Wrestling, you can't do that, but still, there's a lot of pro wrestlers that you can be fans of, living and dead, and the ones I like are very dead. They're really dead. There's so many dead guys. They're the opposite. They were alive when they wrestled. I'll tell you that right now. But
Yeah.
then they pulled like a 180, which is different from what we were used to, and went in a different creative direction. And now so many of those then living wrestlers are now very, very dead. Do you think of any dead wrestler? Name any dead wrestler. They were alive when they wrestled. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I help people.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, because you were you did do wrestling yourself at some point,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Oh, then there's that. Oh yeah. I was a pro wrestler briefly. No, I had a good run. I was trained by WWE Hall of Famer Off of the Wild Samoan Anoa'i, if anyone he's most
Wow.
famous for being The Rock's uncle, and I always bring that up only because, not to name drop, but because he would always name drop that he was The Rock's uncle and this is early 2000s, so Rock was wrestling famous but not movie famous, but still a really famous guy. But yeah, no, I did that. So I was so dedicated to pro wrestling. I became one. I became a 185 to 190 something pound guy getting beaten up by giants in Pennsylvania. And a little another run in San Diego where I was a little bit older and a bit bigger, and I got to, muscle some young folk around a little bit more, and had a bit of a good run there. But at 45 years old, I am paying the price for the pro wrestling world.
So what was your wrestling name? What did you go by?
The best one was my San Diego stint. I was part of the Thrash family. So my brother was Rotten Ronnie Thrash, not my biological brother,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I was Bruising Bobby Thrash, which was really just became Bobby Thrash. So I got to so we were the Thrash family. We had a third guy named Dustin too, a little guy, but he disappeared after a while. We don't know what happened to him. But myself and Rotten Ronnie Thrash got to be grizzly big bullies in San Diego and wrestle all these little luchador guys and be jerks. And God, what fun! Just what fun!
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite time in wrestling, easily. And just to be just dirty, rotten, bad guys, not even worrying about flips and cool moves, just cheat and choke and eye gouge and be jerks and say mean things to people. Ah, it was the best. It was the
I mean,
best.
did you ever get onto Hasbro and ask them why the hell they never made a figure of you?
No, I don't think that's on Hasbro's things to do list. Maybe that would be a good HasLab of when they make
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Bruce and Bobby action figure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Right. Okay, that's figure number 3. Let's move on. I think we've got a bit of motor action going on here. What is
Yes.
the story behind this guy? The memories.
If you're a Motu Origins person out there, this is a 2023, not childhood at all, uh, not even close. But I think the Frogmonger, he was on the. I think he was one of those Mattel Creations guys where you log on to the site at 9 a.m. on whatever day. And this is the first time I got really excited about I ever got involved in any of that, and
Okay.
I was like, because that's when they first started doing these things. These things were selling out in like minutes, and now I think you got a good couple of hours to get like Cyclone or Rio Blast. I'm thinking of the last couple of times they did this, and it's not that big a deal anymore. But I got all involved and excited in the hype that they made a figure based off the sticker in Castle Grayskull. Um,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know why. I just thought it was. I just thought this is cool and fun, and it's a fun pursuit to get involved in. And I was lucky. I just got the one. Just got the one figure. I thought, how cool is it that there's this badass frog who was a prisoner in Grayskull or whatever, and it came with a mini comic where I guess he was a Weasley, cowardly kind of guy. But I took my own. I think the reason I included him in this was that I really enjoyed changing his story a bit, where he was imprisoned
Yeah.
for whatever, but I kind of made it so that maybe Skeletor, and I forget exactly how I did it in my videos. That I was my Sun Bobs, my Play Motions is what I'm talking about. If no one knows, um, I forget exactly what it was, but I think he was kind of kind of a patsy. He was kind of set up by either Skeletor or Endor Hordak or something in the past hundreds of years
Mm.
before He-Man's birth. I guess he was just in that dungeon forever, and but he was a secret that the sorceress and then eventually Randor they knew about, but they kind of swept under the rug. So they were just kind of hoping we don't look bad because they knew we shouldn't be there. But of course, somehow there's some sort of explosion or fight or something that breaks some wall where he gets out. I forget exactly how. but he does get out. And I loved the idea of these very, very clear evil guys, which are Skeletor's guys, and these very clear good guys, which are all Randor Eternian guys. And this one guy who's in the middle, who kind of sees the obvious evil of Skeletor, but also the hypocrisy of Randor's
Yeah.
perfect Eternian nirvana bliss type of world, and someone who was not just championing whatever the king or He-Man says, like your Manny Faces and your Stratos and Buzz Off, etc. But an unwilling guy to help, and maybe so he was shooting both good and bad guys before he reluctantly helps the good guys. And I kept him with the good guys, but he's not really that keen to taking orders, and
Mm.
he's in that middle. I have him in a group of misfits with Mossman, Cyclone, and Rio Blast, where they're all cowboys in a way. They're not really, well, Ram Man will just kind of do what you tell him to. Yeah, Ram Man's not really he's not really one for big verbal or mental gymnastics. Good old Rammy, but someone like him.
Yeah.
But Frogmonger was kind of a little bit of an instigator, but but nevertheless sided with good just because the evil was too evil, not because he
Yeah.
necessarily liked those good guys
Mm.
all that much. He just lesser of two evils, I guess, is probably the way he would see it. Because here he
Yeah.
was, the sorceress was the sorceress. Everyone's telling her she's wonderful, and he's stuck in a dungeon, and he doesn't think so. And there's arguments and this, that, and the other thing. So just what he represented, the fact that maybe Grayskull, which I did have as a kid, but he kind of represented that, maybe all the secrets of Grayskull are not all that good, and
Yeah.
King
Yeah.
Randor and the Eternians, they're not perfect. And so
Yeah.
he kind of so in a way for me, he represents a different facet of Grayskull.
Yeah. And
So I
all this come from a him being a sticker
yeah,
in Castle Grayskull. That
my
is insane.
imagination got away from me, and I'm happy
No,
about it.
no, but that's the thing, though. I mean, you know, you see, I mean, as a kid, seeing Castle Grayskull for the first time, and you see that sticker, you're probably obviously wondering who this guy is or what his story is.
Oh yeah, we stared at it. I mean,
Yeah,
you just stared at things.
yeah,
Sure. So I
yeah,
stared at that sticker and all the weird stuff coming out of it, and then still barely remembered when they said this figure was coming out. But of course, then you
yeah,
start thinking and looking, and I think I already had the Origins Gray Skull. I would have gotten September-ish of 2021. Good God. So yeah, I was like, oh, this is we can tell a story with this,
yeah.
and I have a
And
little bit more freedom to do it.
I mean, what was the reason? I mean, you were saying this is the first time you've ever got involved in doing like a pre-order or getting involved in that type of thing to secure him. So was it just because of who he was that you thought, "Oh, I'm going to try for this one?"
Um, it's quite possible. Just the FOMO just kind of kicked in, where
Yeah,
my group of toy buddies got so excited about it that I kept giving it a double take,
yeah.
over and over. I just kept giving another look, and I went, you got me." And
No,
I
that's
think that
fair
was
enough.
really it.
That's fair enough.
And then gradually, and then I'll think of a, I'll buy a toy and think of a story later to justify me buying the toy, uh, which is exactly what I did.
I mean, when you buy stuff, do you do you need to justify to yourself why you buy it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I have a problem. I went to Catholic school my whole life, so there's a guilt
That's
that they
interesting.
just hammer
That's
into you.
interesting to hear.
Yeah, they just hammer that into you right away. This guilt of enjoying anything just to enjoy it. I think so. That's why any toy I buy, I almost always do a fun boxing or an unboxing of it on my channel. But
Yeah,
those I don't mind, because that's like, to me, that's not it's short. It's like, oh, this is me sharing the toy. It's my digital version of sharing the toy, in
yeah.
as opposed to being 5 or 6, 7, 8 years old in the playground or the sandbox when you're even younger. You share your toys. Well, this is the digital grown up version of me sharing the toy. Is like, I bought it. I'm letting you look at it.
Mm,
Here it is.
mm. I
There you
mean,
go.
when you see this guy, do you wish that they would have made him in the 80s? He was a figure part of the Motu universe back in the 80s.
No,
Or are you happy with
because
him how he is now and just
no, I think it's better the way it turned out, because I think in the 80s
yeah?
I wouldn't have appreciated it, or he just
Okay.
would have been wacky frog guy the same way Clawful is the lobster guy, and Whiplash is a lizard guy. He just would have been
Yeah.
frog guy. Like it would have been Frogmonger would not have been as not as interesting to me. You know, he just would have been another guy, and this one happens to look like a frog. Like, okay.
Very interesting.
Whereas now he represents something else. I think also this is weird too. So I have an older brother. I still do. He's older than me. He was born before I was. That's how that worked. And so so when we got Castle Grayskull, I think I would have been 3 and he would have been 6.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we were 4 and 7. So that sounds right. But either way, um, we did a fairly good job of getting along. But for whatever reason, Castle Grayskull couldn't stay. We were lucky. We each had our own bedrooms. What could I tell you? We just being honest. We were lucky. And Castle Grayskull wasn't going to stay in one kid's room and not the other. So it was just in the living room for a little bit. And I know
Yeah.
my mom hated it because, and quote, it was ugly. She didn't want anything ugly around the house ever. So I
Okay.
think it actually, even though we were still playing with it, I think it went up in the attic fairly quickly. Like I don't remember we got to play with it all for that long a period of time. So
Wow.
because I remember having the Fright Zone in '85 and no Grayskull to play with it with. We didn't,
Yeah.
I was like, well, can we? No, you can't go up in the attic. Oh, can I have Grayskull? Do we still have it? I don't know. It's ugly. Like it was just kind of like swept under the rug, but up top. So
I
even though
mean,
it had,
I was going to say, you're talking about Fright Zone and stuff like that. You've just recently done an unboxing on Fright Zone, so
yes,
you've got that, and you've got the original one as well.
yeah, a good buddy of mine gifted me a vintage Fright Zone like 2 years ago. It was I don't like to say it's a beater because it's a good fights. That sounds ugly, but no, I mean
Yeah.
Fright Zone by design, it's supposed to be ugly. Like
Yeah.
so he's got one with the tree and the the it's got it's banged up, it's used, it's played with, which is what I
Yeah.
wanted. I wanted an old, abandoned, dilapidated looking Fright Zone at the time for my story. That's what I wanted. I wanted a Fright Zone that looked like it had been abandoned and it was very bare bones. So it's perfect. And I still use the
Yeah.
vintage one for G.I. Joe play motions because it looks great in the jungle and the guys can climb on the rocks and fall off it and go through the tunnel and all that kind of stuff. Um, so, so actually I still use it. but, uh,
Wow.
but yeah, I
Yeah.
got the new Fright Zone and I love it. Can't say enough good things. And there will be a big story of some sort. Now you can see Snake Mountain off to the right of this picture.
Yeah.
So yes, something big is coming
Ah,
next year.
awesome.
Something big is coming in the first half of next year. I'll say that.
Oh, I look forward to that, man.
Yeah.
Look forward to that. I mean, so when you see these toys, I mean, do you get a sense of like nostalgia, even though you didn't have them as a kid? Do they still take you back to your childhood?
Yeah. Yeah, they still
Yep.
do. They still do. I think because it's still here's the way I look at it is that that's still clearly we say He-Man and Motu, whatever. That is still clearly a He-Man figure.
Yeah.
He's very much, I mean, look at his body. Look at his
Yeah.
that's a He-Man figure. I don't, even you if you met a guy who didn't collect toys, who's our age and had a few He-Mans as a youth, you can show him that figure and you'd go, what toy brand is this? And he'd go, that's clearly a He-Man guy
Yeah.
of some sort. He might even think it's, not notice the joints and might even think it's a very nice looking figure from the 80s for all, but
Yeah.
like it's obviously a Motu character. So
Mm.
to me, he fits right in. I just think it's a cool new old thing.
Yeah.
It
Well, I was going
works.
to say that's the good thing about the Origins figures, isn't it? Because they are so similar to what the original Motu figures were like. It's just a
Mhm.
modern, updated version, but they've kind of stayed true to the overall design and the look of the characters, haven't they?
Yeah, oh, they knocked it out of the park. I don't,
Yeah.
if anyone wants to call me a corporate shill, go ahead. I'm not arguing about distribution and cost and packaging and exclusives and online yada. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Just the quality of the toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got it perfect. This is just enough additions and just enough modern additions to to keep you happy and make it do
Mm.
just a little closer to what you wanted to do as a
Yeah.
kid. The play
Yeah.
sets they got out of the park and the vehicles too. Motu's not really known for its vehicles all that much. I have a handful of them, but the play sets are great, especially for me in my videos because I have a nice, at the very least, I have a nice background.
Yeah.
I don't have to build the world really all that much, and I love
Yeah.
that because that can be a pain with some of the other ones, particularly the Transformers. That's brutal. But Grayskull looks like Grayskull. Snake Mountain and Fright Zone look like Snake Mountain and Fright Zone. And
Yeah.
the Snake Mountain and Fright Zone updates that they made for the Origins ones, and even again out of the park, made them
Yeah.
so much better. Um,
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that they, these toy companies have got it right and done well. Look, listen, we
yeah,
know they're not going to be an exact copy
I
of
bought the
what we had
stuff.
in the 80s. Do you know what I mean? They're
Yeah,
just not going to be able to. They're not because it's different plastics and
hmm,
and stuff like that. But I think as far as the overall look of the Origins figures are concerned, they are very much
yeah.
in line and in keeping with that Motu design from back in the 80s.
And they're also 100% compatible. So it's like,
Yeah,
let's say it's 2021 and Origins has a Gray Skull out, but no Snake Mountain and no Fright Zone yet from
yeah,
Origins. All your Origins figures, and I know this because I have a vintage Fright Zone, they're the same size. They
yeah,
work perfectly with
yeah,
all your stuff. So it's like this line, and this is a much newer line, but and a little off topic. But I'll just shout out to the Super 7 Reaction Plus GI Joes, those the O rings they've been making, not
okay,
the
yeah,
five. Um, I love those things. I absolutely
yeah,
love those things because the thing is, they don't have to. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. They don't have to make Reaction Plus Super 7 vehicles and play sets because you have them already.
yeah,
If you're buying Reaction Plus GI Joes, you don't have a couple of his tanks and a checkpoint alpha and a ram and an awe striker laying around. You're damn right you do. If you're a guy who likes GI Joe so much, you're buying the Reaction Pluses. You have that stuff, most of it that you want. So it works. You've got these guys. They got a flag in their basement or they got an 83 headquarters on a shelf.
yeah,
It
yeah,
already works. You have the world. And I think the same thing with Origins. You have it. So if you're
yeah.
that into the line and you're buying these things, if you love this brand so much, chances are, like the Joker says in Batman '89, chances are you bought it already.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, talking of GI Joe, here we are.
Oh,
Look at this. So, what is the story and the memories behind these guys?
sweet mother of pearl. Okay, well, none
Yeah,
of these, and I really just submitted this picture just for the Outpost Defender.
right.
Um,
Okay.
Falcon in the middle is that's what a ridiculous television show that would be for us in the States. No, the guy that's the Super 7 Plus, Reaction Plus guy. That Falcon is in the middle. The
Okay.
vintage Rakondo and the vintage Slaughter I bought at the Joe Fest I just mentioned a few months back.
Yeah, yeah,
But this Outpost Defender, this I actually had it as a kid,
yeah.
but then I rebought it. I don't know what happened to it. I got it off eBay 2 3 years ago, something like that. A couple
Okay.
of years back. It's complete too. It even has
Wow.
the three guns that are in the or three weapons. I don't want you kicked off YouTube. It has the three weapons in that box thing and everything else. I had this as a kid, and this was one of my favorite GI Joe toys. I
Yeah,
absolutely love the Outpost Defender because while it's cool to have the big 83 headquarters, the mobile command center, your Defiant and your flag and all the big stuff, the big stuff. To
yeah,
me, GI Joe, or any good guy, is best when they're hunkering down, when they're the underdog, when they're fighting on the defense, when they're fighting uphill. And that's
yeah,
to me, that's an Outpost Defender is something like, to me, it's a makeshift thing that they brought all the materials with them on, let's say, like on the whale or something like that, and they assembled that thing somewhere in Cobra Island or some other remote neutral island where they know
yeah,
Cobra is and there's trouble, and they threw it all together and they're hunkering down, and it's just a small little base for them to communicate with. It's got an antenna up top, so maybe there's some short range they can talk to whatever larger vehicle may or may not be nearby or something like that. But
yeah.
it's got the sandbags, it's got the gun, it's you can still see the figures. I do have a bunch of the modern 4-inch Joes too, and these type of play sets, you can't tell the difference. That the scale isn't quite right, you can't tell at
Okay.
all. So it's like whatever. So a 4-inch,
Yeah,
which is what I had only 4-inch Joes when I got this thing, and it's like it still works. It's fine. but this is even better. So I always loved this idea. I would always put it, and I still do, display. But as a kid, I would always have it against a pillow or something, which is supposed to be a mountain or a big rock
Yeah.
wall or whatever, and just have them fight from underneath against
Wow.
whatever cobra forces are headed their way. And also, you can, if you get creative, guys can get knocked over the little wall, or they can fight on top of it and land on
Yeah.
the metal thing and get knocked off of it. As a kid, or you can jump on top of it if you're a bad guy. You're a storm shadow. You can climb along those rocks and jump on top of it, which actually would give your position away. But you're a kid. You're just doing every crazy thing you can do.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, that's what you
Yeah,
do as kids, isn't it? I mean, when
yeah,
you picked this up, when you got this off of eBay, I mean, what were the feelings? Because obviously, this was a kid. This was a toy you had as a kid. I
yeah.
mean, again, did it bring back all those memories and stuff like that? And you was like, I
Big
mean, what was
time.
the feeling when it arrived and you opened it up and it was like, wow, I
Big
would have
time.
been.
So much so that, oh, and this is another great playability factor of this, but so much so that I picked the thing up without touching one in 30 something years, and I just started assembling it perfectly. I
Yeah,
knew right away what goes where, because a toy similar to when I just got around the same time, I got a Cobra Battle Bunker, which I didn't have as a kid. But some of those smaller Joe playsets, you can take apart as if it got blown up and just
yeah,
easily put it right back together. So even as a
yeah,
kid, and yeah, my Outpost Defender would always have the roof knocked off and that kind of stuff. And it took seconds to put the thing back together, and it just kept going and going and going. So yeah, it took me almost no time to put
wow,
all, because those sandbags aren't attached to those
yeah,
wooden walls, but
yeah,
you shove them in once and never touch them again, I think is the best way. But
mm,
yeah, no, it was cake. It was just like, all right, I can't believe I haven't even thought about this in forever, and it's just muscle memory. I'm like, oh, it's like we all knew how to transform G1 Optimus Prime, even if we didn't have G1 Optimus Prime.
yeah,
You knew, because
yeah,
I got Ultra. I had the Ultra Magnus, even though I never owned the G1 Prime. I knew right away that the white Magnus Prime guy, whatever. Oh, I know this is Optimus. I knew exactly what to do without.
yeah,
We all had
yeah,
a friend, you know what I mean. So same thing with this. It was just
yeah.
like, oh, we're
That's
right
awesome.
back in the action, and
And
it's yeah,
and I was going to say, I like what you said as well. Because GI Joe. I mean, the world building in that sort of like toy line is absolutely incredible. You got all the big vehicles and playsets and stuff like that. But the good thing about the world building is, and for GI Joe, is that you do get the smaller sets, the smaller vehicles, which is pretty cool.
so important. And I think
Yeah, absolutely.
in the catalogs, and I don't know how many Sunday afternoons, especially as a 7 and 8 year old, I stared at those catalogs to the point where I'll see certain Instagram profiles who just share Sears and J.C. Penney or whatever catalogs.
Yeah,
And I remember those pictures because I stared at them for hours and hours. And the big ones, the Defiance and MCCs, that we all stared at those forever, and I know I did. But and I didn't have any Big Joe play sets, which is probably for the better. But then when I think about it, if as much as I stared at the MCC, if I had it, it would have been such a pain to play with, because every time I want to move it or transform it or it would have been this whole thing. And but something like the Outpost Defender, if I want to go from the bedroom to the living room to downstairs to the kitchen table to the dining room table after I'm yelled at to get out of the kitchen table because dinner's, you just move it and you
yeah,
have a great time with it, and you take it
simple as that.
apart and you blow it apart in your mind, just take your hand explosions, you know what I mean, as a kid. And the Joes reassemble, and
Mm,
there's it's it allows the imagination to do the work for you, but you have this
yeah,
wonderful little world you build. And small play sets, especially with GI Joe, that's everything. That's
yeah.
everything.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, with all the toys that you've shown today, the toys and the pictures that you showed today, which one would you say you've got the biggest connection to, or is there more than
Hmm.
one?
It would be a tie between the Godzilla and the Randy Savage. But Randy Savage, the Macho Man, I think as each one of those figures was from a different parent.
Yeah.
And I say parent like I don't know. No, at 10 years old, I think my mom gave up on writing Santa on what do you call it, on the presents and all that. Should I
Okay.
have said that in the chat? But yeah, no, I just, it's so few and far between that you have like these things like from Where's Randy? Oh yeah, I actually kept them pretty close. So
Yeah.
Randy and Godzilla, just because these are the ones that I played with, and these are the characters that they captured Bob, and they came from the parents. So
No, no, cool,
for
man.
that, it would definitely be a tie between um, the G Man and the Macho Man.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Well, we have come to the top of the hour, so we have come to the end of the conversation. Bob, I've just got to say, I've really enjoyed chatting to you, mate. Said to
Happy
you,
chatting with you, buddy. It's been a minute,
yeah,
but it was happy to
it's
chat with you.
always good fun, always highly entertaining. Where can people find you on social media?
Oh, I'll just give him my home address. That's fine. I live
Yeah,
at no, yeah, Instagram at Bob Hansen jokes. But I got I got two YouTube channels going on. There's a Bob
you
Squad
have,
one and a Singing
yeah.
Land Shark one. The Singing Land Shark one is that's all toy, just toy specific. I'm just putting the play motions on there. But the Bob Squad one is more stand up comedy and still a lot of old toy stuff on there anyway. But I'm on those. I forget what it is. I think it's youtube.com. Bob Hansen jokes is and the Singing Land Shark or something. They're all linked together.
Well, what I'll do is I'll leave your links to your social media platforms
Oh,
in the
thank you, sir.
description below. So your Instagram and your two YouTube channels as well. So I'll
Yeah,
leave
the
them in there.
YouTubes are good.
Yeah,
They'll figure it out. They can come watch some nonsense. If anyone's in Tacoma, Washington, I'll be there late October. But I'm going yeah, got to get people out to the shows. And I have links on my own channel to get your own Bob Squad shirt. How about that?
oh, oh,
There's
okay. All right. I could be
there's
very,
me
very
chicken.
tempted. I could be
There's
very,
me
very
chicken.
tempted.
So I
Well,
got a
Bob,
bunch of
like I
those.
say, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. So, you know, like I say, you value for money. It's always good to chat to you and stuff like that. And I've really enjoyed listening to your memories and stuff like that, and what the toys sort of like mean to you, and all the stories behind them. So yeah, awesome stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy, and I appreciate you in handling the difficulty of interviewing me.
That's all
I
right. It's
know that
never, never,
sometimes
never difficult. It's all right.
I
It's
like to throw
okay.
you some curveballs, but we have our fun
That's
with it.
okay. That's okay. It is fun. It's absolutely fun. For those of you who have watched or listened to the end, thank you very much. It does mean a lot. That's it for this video. So until next time, take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.